Welcome to Orator Academy Talks. In the series, Talking It Out Helps, today I would like to talk to Pastor Dan Martian. Pastor Dan Martian is a pastor of the Presbyterian Church in town of Livingston, New Jersey, where I live. He is anchor, producer of the Clergy Corner, and also president of the Clergy Association. From whatever I have known of Pastor Dan, I know that he is very inclusive. He reaches out beyond his own duties of pastor of that church. He has held several multi-faith vigils at his church, and that is a very heartening experience in today's time and age where our world needs to come together and be one. So Pastor Dan, welcome and thank you for your time today. How are you doing?
Doing very well, and thank you for coming and letting me be on your show today. I appreciate it and allowing me to talk with you.
No, absolutely. Whatever I've seen of you, as I said, it's not flattery, it's the truth. I've always known you to be very eloquent and very inclusive. Two very positive signs in my world of communication as well. So I feel I connect.
Right, and I think that helps people foster conversation, and that what you just said fosters conversation because it brings the barriers down. I always try, and hopefully it comes through, to respect other people and to respect other people's stories, wonderful stories that people have that inspire other people.
Absolutely. And I was asking you earlier if you agree with my belief that talking it out helps. And how are you talking it out with your congregation? And you were saying that you have actually been reaching out to people because they may or may not reach out to you.
Right, exactly. Some of the avenues and the tools that we have used during this pandemic, since the church building is closed down and we're not able to come together to worship, like we're on Zoom here, we worship on Zoom and Facebook, live stream on Facebook, through our telephones, connecting with people. But we did something on Sunday, which I thought was really, really powerful. And we did a virtual fellowship hour after our semi-worship service. Afterward, people got together and we started talking. We started connecting with each other, and they were telling stories about how they were holding up. They were talking amongst themselves, and I just sat back and let them talk. And it was so powerful to hear their stories and what they were doing and what they were concerned about.
When we talk about communication, it's one-to-one, human to human, and then human to God.
Right.
Through that, we use religion, and you being a pastor are the moderator in that area as well.
Yeah, when we talk about prayer, and all religions have some sort of prayer, and prayer is a communication. When I talk to them on the phone and I touch bases with them and see how they're doing, that's when they open up. Mm-hmm. And so a conversation that probably would have been 5 minutes is now a half an hour because they just want someone to talk to. They're frustrated, they're isolated, they don't have anybody to talk with them. There's, things that maybe are going on emotionally with them and that they want to talk it through. And I found out that a lot of people are grieving.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going through the stages of grief.
Glad that they have somebody to lean on, you and the religion, their faith.
Yeah, because everybody's at a stage. We're all grieving.
Yeah.
We've lost what was and what is to come. We've lost that. Mm-hmm. It's a new normal that we have to live with for now. We don't know what the other side is going to be like after this pandemic is over with. Mm-hmm. And when we're back together again, what is that going to look like? So there's a lot of grief that people are going through. And I think talking it out and realizing that and affirming that, yeah, I am in grief, I am grieving, that's when the healing starts.
And in today's time and age of a lot of mental illness, where people have not able to vent out, not been able to talk to anybody, thus sometimes leading to mental illness.
Right. And not only that, but domestic violence and abuse. People that are short, with their temper, agitated. If people talk that out, if they talk those feelings out, then possibly and hopefully they won't put that into action.
Now, you started that show on LTV, Livingston Television.
Yes, the
Khanna.
clergy center.
So, what was your mindset when you conceptualized that show?
And one of the clergy in our area put the seeds, planted the seeds, and then we started talking about it with LTV. And Joel Leitner and I got together to visualize what this show was going to be about. And it was important for the interfaith clergy to get together. I'm president of the Interfaith Clergy Association. And so we would have a panel of interfaith clergy from Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, and Christian would get together to talk about a certain topic of faith. And so we've talked about health issues, what we would think about the scriptures itself. And so it was more of a dialogue. We've talked about gun violence and gun safety. We've talked about same-sex marriage. We've talked about, with the pandemic, what houses of worship are doing to connect, once again, with their people during this pandemic.
When we talk, we also realize that what we are going through and what we are feeling, whether it's good or bad, happy or sad, we are never alone. We are not the only ones. So if you are privileged and if you are enjoying good fortunes, you are not the only one. So stay humble. If you're going through miserable times, you are not the only one. So stay hopeful. So
you know, and you know what really concerns me is how people lose hope during this time. I know we're going through a health crisis, but also we're going through an economic crisis.
Yeah.
And I hear so many people losing hope. And people are suffering out there. They have to make a decision. Do I pay rent? Do I pay the mortgage? Do I eat? Do I pay for medicine? There's a lot of choices that they have to make. The bills are mounting up, and they don't have the resources that they used to. So there's a lot of things going on in people's lives to cause suffering and pain. But don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. And I think that's what the religions right across the board teach. They teach encouragement, inspiration. Listen to the stories of people that have been through tough times, because their stories inspire us. If they go through tough times, I can go through tough times. And this is just a time. We need to encourage one another that this too shall pass. It's only temporary. I look back at the people who've gone on before us, who've dealt with the plagues, who've dealt with situations with pandemics, dealt with World War II, the sacrifices they had to make. And they came out on the other side because they all worked together. They helped each other out. They all talked the talk and they walked the walk. They just didn't talk it, they walked it. And I think that's where we're going to have hope. And that's what's going to bring hope into people's lives.
Absolutely. I think what happens as humans, we get a little arrogant and demanding, and we start thinking that if our prayers are not answered, then I'm the most unfortunate person on the planet, or God is not listening to me, without realizing that no is also an answer. There was a very sweet story somebody had told me about a little girl. It's of course made up, but nonetheless, the message was so beautiful that this little girl is turning 10 and her birthday is in the month of June, and she really loves the snow. So she keeps asking her mother, Mom, do you think if I ask God, I'll have snow on my birthday? Now the mom doesn't want to shake her faith. So she says, there is no harm in praying for it, but we'll see what happens. So pray. So the girl continuously prayed till her 10th birthday in the month of June for snow. On her birthday, of course, birthday came, there wasn't any snow.
Right.
So the mother went to console her daughter. Very sheepishly, she walked into the daughter's room and said, Darling, happy birthday. And I'm so sorry. You really wanted snow on your birthday. And I'm so sorry that your prayers were not answered. And the girl looked at the mother, smiled and said, No, Mom, my prayers were answered. And the answer was no. So
that's a very, very good story.
It's a beautiful story, and it's never left my conscience and never left my mind. I often remind myself that yes, no is also an answer. We've just got to graciously accept that. We just
Right. And,
too demanding. We are like stubborn children. I want it and I want it now. And if you don't give it to me, you are a bad father.
and that brings your stories bring me to a point. During this time, people are saying, where is God? Is right with us. Maybe we don't recognize God because our eyes are blinded to the God that we want. But God is revealing God's self to us in the way that God's going to reveal God's self to us, not the way that we want. We put a lot of responsibility on God because it takes the ownership off of us.
Yes.
And I think we need to ask ourselves, well, why did we allow this?
Mm-hmm.
What did we do that causes pandemics? It's just basically a planet that's always changing,
Mm-hmm.
and we're learning to adapt. That's the question. How are we adapting? Like I've said, it's the 3 F's. When we can go through any tough times in our lives if we remember faith, family, and friends. Not necessarily in that order, but it's faith, family, and friends. The 3 F's.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Pastor Dan.
And thank you very much for inviting me to the talk.
My pleasure. And like you said, we are stronger together. And talking it out helps. We are all here to help.